Oh, there's me. Hello. So yeah, I'm at home today, and I live in kind of a dump. So pardon that. Let's talk about toasts and eulogies, all right? And I'm just gonna like make myself look pretty, kind of right now. This shouldn't be taking too long on this lecture. It's not really much of a lecture as much as instructions, but I want to tell you a little bit about like some historical and like the necessity and like what toasts and eulogies are about. Like, I'm not going to talk about all the ceremonial speeches that are available and things like that, because there's lots of different types of speeches. And what we would call those speeches is epideictic speeches. Epideictic. Epideictic speeches. This could be a potential exam issue. Like, what is epideictic? It's the ceremonial speech, the speech of rituals and things like that. So toasts and eulogies are the two most common of these types of speeches. All right. But like, there's lots of different ones, like inauguration speeches, right? Political convention speeches, speeches like a retirement or something like that, or like a speech where you're accepting an award, right? That's a ceremonial speech too. All of these are epideictic speeches, and these speeches, when we think about like the old Aristotle, ethos, pathos, and logos, these speeches are housed in pathos, right? That like the situation rhetorically calls for a control of emotion or a facilitation of emotion, a direction to put the like already high levels of emotion that are going on in the particular situation and direct them into a productive place, right? So uh, the reason that like toasts and eulogies are both fall under this is because even though they're very different occasions, right? One of them is like typically a happy occasion, while the other is like, well, someone's dead, right? They both serve the same function of of taking an emotion that's going on, like a high level of emotion, and directing it into something productive, right? Where a toast is like a high level of like celebratory emotion, right? And the person who's toasting kind of like directs that into like addressing why we are celebrating and things like that, and like then leaving off with like some type of a call or some type of a tribute to the person, right? And oftentimes epideictic speeches are considered speeches of praise and blame, right? That like we're either, it's either a speech of praise where we're like happy about something, or a speech of blame where we are like thinking about what may have caused this happenstance or something like that, right? Um, so toast, like there's lots of types of toast, right? There's a retirement toast, there's a wedding toast, which is probably the most common. There's like personal toast, like maybe you're in an anniversary and like you want to toast your partner. There's toast in the workplace, like maybe the workplace had a really good quarter, and so like there's a bottle of champagne being opened, and the boss might want to like toast everyone in the company for making all that money for him or her, or them, excuse me. And then there's like, yeah, other anniversaries and things like that, where maybe you're toasting your parents on their 40th wedding anniversary or something like that. And so all of these things are can fall among the genre of the toast. The purpose of the speech is not to inform or to persuade. It's a speech of entertainment, right? It's to commemorate. It's not set up in the same way, right? It is a tribute to the person that, or the people that are being toasted, right? So you wouldn't give a toast in order to like say something bad about someone, right? Now, a roast is a different thing, right? And like the history of roasts is actually much, much younger than the history of toasting. Um, I believe the roast originally comes out in like the 1950s or 60s with like the some comedy club would regularly roast their members as like which was still a tribute, but it was a tribute done in a opposite way. I don't want to get into the history of roasts. they're cool, they're fun. That's not what we're doing here, though. Okay. So it's a tribute to the person and people toasting. The use of humor is very common when we're looking at toasts, and it's an engagement in an emotional appeal. Okay. Um, so like that, there's always like some element of emotional appeal that's going on in a toast. I did a best man toast for my brother's wedding, and typically, like, yes, there's like some humor involved, right? They might tell a story about you and the person that's being toasted, right? Something personal, maybe about the relationship for a wedding toast that you might know about them together, right? And at the end, you typically want to have some type of a high emotional like ending to, like, make people understand that like there's more than just a bunch of jokes that are going on here. And that's the engagement that you usually get as well. So for a basic rundown of the parts of a toast. Like we would like start with an introduction, just like any other speech, right? Where we would start with some type of an attention getter. Okay, you want to say like say something to introduce your speech. If you're the best man at a wedding or the maid of honor at a wedding and you're giving a toast, then like people pretty much know who you are. You don't really have to introduce yourself as who you are. You might want to give a blurb like I'm the sister of the bride or something like that, or I'm the brother of the groom. But you still want to open with like some type of an attention getter. Okay. Um, if you are introducing yourself as your attention getter, you should do it in some creative and interesting way. All right. Not a boring way. Uh, Again, like even in a toast, you might want to have some type of a preview of the central idea. You still need to explain like what your toast or tribute is for, what it's about, right? Like you give your attention getter, and then you say, and I'm here to toast the lovely relationship between these two people that we're all here to celebrate today, right? You're getting out that central idea, right? That thesis statement of a toast. And it's like, wait, Craig, really a thesis? Yes, really a thesis. You want to like make sure that everyone is on the same page as to like what you're attempting to do. You can still preview and as well. You can say like, so as a part of that celebration, I'm going to tell a story about yada yada yada, or I'm going to tell you about this what I think of their relationship, or how I found out that this relationship was for real, or like what it was that like allowed us as a company to achieve the success that we've gotten this year, right? Or why we do celebrate this person who is like retiring and will be leaving our company. So that type of a thing is still in there. The body of the speech, you want to like have some type of uh, overall positive representation of the person being toasted, right? Or eulogized in that. Yeah, overall positive representation of the person being toasted, right? Even if you have a little friendly joke and ribbing or like joking about that person at first, you want to end with the idea that like even though we have this like feeling or whatever, like overall we want to like have a representation of them or like an idea of them in a positive light. Okay, you don't want to end being like, and that's why they're trash, right? You want to like make sure that the person feels good about being toasted, not bad. And Also in the body, like you should have like it should be paying tribute in some way, right? You should be like reflecting upon a relationship and things like that in a way that like is tributary. Very often in toasts, like there will be like a story, right? A story about the person or about something that is representative of the relationship or something like that. So when you're telling a story, the same rules of narrative apply again, right? Where like it has to have narrative fidelity and narrative probability. The story has to hang together. The story has to like match up with the values of the audience, right? And if you engage in those things, then like that should be good as well. So after the body is like your conclusion, right? That's where you really want to get the emotional buy-in. If you're doing a toast, then a requirement of the end of a toast is like you should have like a glass in your hand, right? If you're at home, you should be able to use a glass, like an actual glass, and put it in your hand and like raise it up in the air, right? That is a gesture that is characteristic of all toasts, right? You toast them with some type of a drink in your hand. And like during that during that part of the speech, because that is the closing when everyone has that glass in the air. You want to establish closure. All right. You want to have a resolving statement where everyone knows that's the end. You don't want to end with that's it. You don't want to have to end with thank you. You want everyone to know that that's it, but you without actually saying it by having a good resolving statement. So yeah, you could even say like, and in the end, to such and such, whoever the bride and groom are, right? That would be one way that you know that's the end. Everyone can drink their drink, right? So a lot of these traits, like we just talked about toast, like a lot of these traits like also apply for eulogy. And yes, humor can actually be used in a eulogy. We've definitely seen it done. Later on today, I've got some toast and eulogy links that are in a folder on Blackboard. I'm also going to add some YouTube examples of toasts and eulogies. They aren't all 100% correct or like 100% like perfect, but like they're good examples for you to like think about and use. Like some of them are like, wow, this person like told a really good story, but boy, were they like really crummy with eye contact, right? So like bear in mind that like nobody's 100% perfect all the time. But yeah, I'll throw some examples of eulogy where there is humor being used in it. The emotional appeal of a eulogy is less of an appeal to bring out emotion and more of an appeal to temper the flow of emotion. Emotions are already very high at a funeral, right? They're already very much at a like high level, like there may be crying going on and things like that. And a eulogy is supposed to like bring people together and like bring us a plan of how we will continue to go on by going on like through tribute of the person that's being eulogized, right? Like maybe like leaving suggestions of what they would want, how they would want us to go on, and thinking about like how what we've learned from the person who has passed is like important to how we continue to live in the future. All right. Honesty is important about people being eulogized. Honesty without showing overt negativity, right? We want to like say good things about the people overall. And the speech purpose of a eulogy is still to commemorate and entertain. It's still not to persuade, right? We're not trying to persuade people to like the person, right, that is being eulogized. They already do, or else they wouldn't be there in the first place. So eulogy is not a captive audience, right? They chose to be there. That's basically it on like the reasons that we do things, right? If it were in the class, a eulogy, would actually be the only speech that would allow you to have a podium. I don't want you to have a podium for a toast. I'm not going to be looking much for body movement in a toast or a eulogy. However, I am definitely looking harder for gestures, making sure those gestures aren't repetitive, making sure that the movement that is being done like in the eulogy or toast is appropriate, making sure that eye contact, that you might be scanning the room if there's a room being involved and things like that, making sure your facial expressions are important, right? These are parts of the physical delivery. You don't want to be giving a eulogy and like trying to resist smiling and laughing, right? Like obviously not appropriate, right? But the same thing with a toast. Like, you need to be jovial and joyous and like not have inappropriate facial expressions that don't match the emotional part of what's going on. And verbal delivery in this, I want it to be like very polished. All right. Like you don't have an actual audience and you're recording speeches. All right. So there's not much excuse for this to be pretty darn close to perfect. All right. So, I mean, like, you should be pretty well practiced on here. We're so in the actual online course over the summer, we actually require you to have an audience. We're not doing that here because everything's just and crazy, right? So so don't worry about that. But like, since you get unlimited takes and unlimited tries, I expect it to be pretty darn good. Okay. Let's shoot for 4 to 6 minutes on these toasts and eulogies. Okay. Which shouldn't be a problem because, like, again, you'll be able to time everything that you have and maintaining like decent eye contact, if not with the camera, then with the assorted audience that you have. So I want to like close with a little bit of a take on the purpose of a eulogy from an academic journal that I was flipping through a while ago. And I think it's a good way to like think about it. The eulogy is structured to celebrate, mourn, commemorate, honor, and dedicate. That is, it offers a suitable form of grief recovery and addresses the need for personal consolation while also paying tribute to what has been lost. The eulogy can serve as an effective mechanism for providing the meaning, comfort, and consolation by which to cope with a changed reality. Lazarus suggested that the coping behavior can be productively divided into two broad categories: problem-focused coping, which addresses the problem that is causing the stress, and emotional-focused coping, which deals with the emotion and or cognition that is surrounding the stress. Both problem-focused and emotion-focused coping can be facilitated through eulogy by regulating and dealing with the emotions surrounding the immediate stress. And I think that's a really good way to think about the eulogy, to think about like how the purposes that it serves and how it deals with like the problem of the person being gone and the emotion of the person being gone, and how the eulogy helps to bring meaning to that. Other things about if you decide to do a eulogy, I would like you to like be somewhat serious about it. However, do not eulogize someone that is going to make you break down into tears or something like that. Okay, this is not supposed to be an exercise to like make you upset, right? Or make you like break down. All right, that's not what I'm trying to do. And like, there's plenty of like high anxiety and emotion going on in the world right now that we don't need to add on to it by having you eulogize someone that you care so much about that you can't get through the speech. All right, don't do that. Okay. But at the same time, I would rather you like take it somewhat seriously and not eulogize something like, oh, my grade point average is dead now, right? And like don't make it a joke. Okay. I mean, like, if we're doing this and we're not doing the group speech, let's try and do a really good job of it, okay? Yeah, visual aid is not necessary, okay? How you want to deliver that speech is up to you. If you want to create a private YouTube where like only people with the link can view it, that will work. YouTube is like able to put up videos like rather quickly now, while Zoom is not. Do not like try and like use Zoom and put it in the cloud. Will not work. Okay. Like I'm still waiting for like 2 days for the teaching demonstration that we had on visual aids. So that's not a good idea. Lastly, if you are a group that has decided you will power through and do the group speech, I need to speak with you over this weekend. I would prefer to like have some type of a messaging app or something like that, so we can go back and forth rather than just doing emails, or we can use Zoom for that as well. But like, I need you to contact me so that we can figure out how we're going to put together your group speech if you decide to continue on with the group speech instead of this. Okay. And that should be it for right now. That should be all that you should have to worry about today. Like the class today was only supposed to be groups getting together to work on their speeches anyway. So this is like about a 20-minute video here. This is not that bad. And hopefully this gives you some direction on the toast and eulogy. There is a folder with toast and eulogy tips in Blackboard right now. There are a couple of different links to ways to help construct those things, and then I'll try and put up some examples either tonight or tomorrow on different types of toasts and eulogies. Okay? Be strong out there, and we're all pulling for you. All right? Have a great one.